There was a meeting of Russian copy of NATO, the CSTO or Collective Security Treaty Organization. Half of the countries in it are turning more and more anti-Russia since the war started. And because of that, the meeting was filled with extremely cringe moments. There was the king of cringe, Lukashenko, of course, or as operator Starsky calls him, the potato head. Look at this moment, the Prime Minister of Armenia, Pashinyan, going out of his way to stand as far as possible from Vladimir Putin. And Putin knows it, for sure. And here we have Mr. Potato Head's lecture. He tries to convince other CSTO members not to leave the security organization. Lukashenko stated this: if the Russian state crumbles, we will be under the rubble. He knows very well what will happen to him and Putin if Russia fails in Ukraine, because if Russia fails in Ukraine, Russia will fail, period, totally, as a state. In this video, we have mobilized from Yekaterinburg. These mobilized are angry because they haven't gotten their pay. Now, note this, they are not angry because they're going to be forced to fight in Ukraine and kill Ukrainians. They're angry because they haven't gotten paid for it. This is a very important distinction. A lot of Russian people are not anti-war, a lot of them are pro-war, and they only start to complain when they're mobilized and they don't get paid. In the same video you could say that we don't want to go and fight in this war, but they are saying we are not getting paid for it. Let's watch the video.
Приветствую вас, администрация города Екатеринбурга, Министерство обороны, уважаемый Владимир Владимирович. Мы мобилизированы со Свердловской области, с разных районов. Хотим довести до вас следующее, что мы призваны с 25, 26, 27 октября. 29 октября мы приехали в военную часть города Тюмень. Проблема в том, что нам до сих пор не пришла заработная плата.
We didn't receive our salary, not one word about the fact that they were forcefully mobilized. And it is not an isolated event. There are a lot of videos like that when the soldiers turning to Putin, dear Putin, where are our salaries? Not for the fact that you made us go fight in Ukraine and kill innocent civilians. We want to get paid for it. This here is why I have had a hard time feeling bad for these mobilized men.
До нас доводят следующее, что мы зачислены в военную часть от 3 ноября, и зарплата нам будет начисляться исключительно от 3 ноября. Один человек с Екатеринбурга у нас получил расчет от 26 октября по 20 ноября. Чем мы хуже его? Также сидим на сумках, готовимся к отправке. Никакой поддержки с нашей области нет. Никто нам наш вопрос решить не может. Еще вопрос у нас следующий. Мы 4-й город по населению в России. При этом север Ямао получил 300 тысяч. Тюмень 100 тысяч. А наши родные и близкие должны бегать полмесяца, собирать какие-то справки.
Again, they are complaining that they don't get enough money and they don't get enough equipment, but not for the fact that they have to go into Ukraine and not against this war. They're not complaining about that. In the West, it's very easy to see these videos and see how Russian mobilized are being used against their will. A lot of these men actually believe in this war because they have been fed this propaganda for 20 years. They want to go to this war. They don't like the fact that they have to be uncomfortable without gear and without payment. Some of these men have nothing against this war.
Получить 20 тысяч рублей. Эти деньги, конечно же, уйдут нашим родственникам, а мы, как мобилизированные, не можем ничего себе позволить в плане приобретения какой-то дополнительной экипировки. Мы очень благодарны администрации и жителям города Тюмени за то, что они хотя бы помогают нам материально в плане вещей. Просим вас разобраться в скорейшее время, так как в любой момент нас могут отправить защищать свою родину задарма и за спасибо.
We are extremely thankful for the administration of the city. We're ready to be sent to defend our motherland. See, these men are extremely brainwashed because if they use this language, defend our motherland, this is straight from a Russian propaganda show because they're not going to defend Russia as a motherland. They're going to take freedom away from another country and kill the civilians. So you can tell these men are extremely brainwashed. And you see, it's kind of hard to feel bad for them because they want to get paid for the fact that they're gonna be terrorists in Ukraine. Well, that's my dilemma anyway. Before we go on, my friends, we have a royalty coming on today. His name is Lord Rehi. Let's listen to what he has to say. I'm not an Estonian soldier anymore, or an Estonian YouTuber. I am now a Lord of Scotland, and these are my lands. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom, where landowners, such as myself, are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. They allow people to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest so that you can call yourself a lord or a lady. Bow before me, peasant. Off with your head. I'm supposed to be a nice lord. Off with your head. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. It makes a great last-minute gift. They even have couple packs that come with adjoining plots of land. You could officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on your credit card, plane tickets, etc. if your country allows it. You can even get it on your dating profiles. I mean, have you seen some lords up in Tinder? You're gonna be the first. Established Titles is committed to planting a tree with every order. It is a fun, novel way to help preserve the picturesque woodlands and biodiversity of Scotland while supporting global afforestation efforts. Established Titles is actually running a massive sale right now. Plus, if you use the code Estonian69, yeah, I'm not kidding you, the code is Estonian69. You get an additional 10% off. Established Titles told me that the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot, within a few minutes of walking. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our own little kingdom. Go to establishedtitles.com/Estonian69 to get your gifts now and help support the channel. Germany offered to move Patriot air defense systems to Poland after missiles killed 2 Polish citizens. Poland responded by saying that move them to Ukraine. I doubt that Germany will do that. German units in Ukraine operating Patriot defending Ukrainian skies. That would be the day. But dear Germany, give these Patriot systems to Ukraine and train Ukrainian soldiers to use them, please. That's the thing to do. Also for the Polish answer, Poland has really been there for Ukraine more than any other country. Yes, we know that USA has given most equipment, weapons and money, but Poland has been there for everything else and equipment and money also. Most refugees have gone to Poland. I think when this war ends, Poland and Ukraine will be inseparable. Poland is the fastest weaponizing country in Europe, so I think they will be a regional powerhouse in a decade, more so than Russia. Or at least rival to Russia. We have another mobik video, and out of all of the mobik videos, this one seems one of the saddest ones. These guys had no armor given to them. They were abandoned by the commanders. They were shelled by friendly forces, by Russian forces, friendly fire. They were not given any food. And after retreating, they were placed in a building with no windows. Russia is known to do that for its troops, to frighten them and to force them back to the fight. And there is more. They mentioned being deceived. Some of these men believed in the Russian propaganda before, like the first clip we watched, but some of these men are forcefully mobilized, but it does not matter now because they're treated the same way as cannon fodder. They're stuck in Ukraine to be minced up. One of the biggest weapons they have right now is a cell phone to make these videos and to upload them, and I can show these videos, you can see them, but who really needs to see them are Russian people. And I'm not sure they see them, so if you know any Russians in Russia, you gotta send these videos to them. They need to see it before they get mobilized. We have an intercepted phone call, and I like to listen to these time to time because they are purely natural. In this call, the father of a Russian soldier from the 488th Regiment near Kremlin describes what he sees on the TV in Russia.
Где-то все сзади нас они сидят, эти барсы. Их и мало, человек по 7 всего. Да там пенсионеры одни. Вагнер-то они.
Wait, I gotta pause already. There is a volunteer battalion behind these troops near Kremina, right? The Russian soldier says they're mostly pensioners. What's the problem? Why pensioners? Why are Russian pensioners fighting in Ukraine? Already a lot of red flags here.
Зэки наши, нижегородские. Мы с ними это воевали дня и 5. Они у нас жили. А больше их не видели.
Они на БМПшках что гоняются, показывали.
Не знаю. Когда они были с нами, они пешком-то уходили. Американцы что там, поставляют оружие до сих пор?
Да поставляют.
Вчера прилетел в соседний окоп, я осколок нашел, смотрю, там английские буквы.
Показывали эти вчера ружья, которые квадрокоптеры сбивают.
I gotta say the father sounds drunk, obviously very drunk. Wouldn't be surprised.
У вас нет каких-то?
Да у нас нет ничего. Польша, наверное, тоже что-нибудь хочет, у них какую-нибудь территорию забрать.
We have nothing.
Наверное. Калининград они хотят забрать. Воюем не с Украиной.
See, we're fighting America and NATO. That's what the father tells because he sees it in TV. Because in the previous video yesterday, the propaganda show aired it that they're fighting the entire NATO and America. Well, this is what the propagandists tell themselves to console themselves why Russia is losing so bad. Of course we're losing, we're fighting the whole world. Well, the truth is quite sad, they're only fighting Ukraine and 5% of NATO. This is what people really believe in Russia. It is insane.
Украина считается Америкой с НАТО на Украине.
Тут пацаны приезжали, у них, говорит, какой-то снаряд прилетел, 4 метра глубина. И диаметром метров 30, да. 2 дня подряд они попадали. Сначала 2 Урала сгорело с этим, минометный расчет. А потом что-то еще сгорел, тоже Урал. Они как-то со всех сторон договорились и со всех сторон начали закидывать. Но у нас еще фосфора у нас много.
Чем не понял?
The soldier just said we have a lot of phosphorus. Phosphorus is be a war crime to use it, right? Just casually admits it. We're using phosphorus on them. There's a huge problem here.
Наши, говорю, фосфором еще кидают.
Ours are firing phosphorus.
Ну, выжигают их там 4000 градусов.
Да. Это хуй отлеживают, мне кажется.
Yeah, they don't show that on TV because it's a war crime. They don't, but they're firing it. A lot of it. We've seen videos of it. It is terrifying because visually it looks very beautiful when this rain comes down, but you know what it does to people and houses and everything. So it's a total terror attack.
Этим огнем и падает потихоньку вниз. Правда, даже кто в укрытии, все выгорают. Но их мало тоже, походу, у нас осталось. Там по 3 ракеты.
Honestly, for me, this is terrifying to listen to, just so casually talking about this stuff. But this is why I like to listen to these phone calls, because you get the natural way how the Russians think about this. And they're used to it. They don't even think anything of it. Oh, you're firing phosphorus. They don't show this on TV, but I guess it's okay, you know. And why the Russians are like that in Russia, my friends. I had Natasha from Natasha's Adventures on my podcast. We talked about this. She really explained it well, far better than I could. So the podcast link is in the description below. Go and subscribe to the channel because her podcast will be uploaded in 1 to 2 weeks. This is the moment when European Parliament adopted the resolution of recognizing Russia as a terrorist state.
The Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism. There is a joint motion for a resolution tabled by 3 groups and it is broadly adopted. Congratulations.
After that, a massive cyber attack hit the European Parliament. Coincidence? I think not. I think Russia right now is just showing their true face to the world, and thank God the world sees it for the first time. They have removed their horse blinders. After EU recognized Russia as a terrorist state, Russia immediately struck Ukraine with another huge missile attack. As much as we know right now, about 70 missiles were fired against Ukrainian civilian electrical and water infrastructure. They did a lot of harm. Moldova, the entire country, and Ukraine were left in the dark for some hours. Huge cities, the biggest cities in Ukraine, were without electricity and water. They even hit a maternity hospital. There were casualties. These missiles don't just hit a maternity hospital. There is a person putting in the coordinates. They know what they're doing. These missiles don't land randomly. They're the most precise weapons Russia has. So some person looked up this maternity hospital, put in the coordinates, and sent the missile. Russia is not gaining anything with it militarily. So it reminds me so very much of the German terror bombing of London with V1 and V2 rockets. They were not going to win. They knew they were going down, but they wanted to watch the world burn. I feel it's the same way with Russia right now. The Pope compared Russian war against Ukraine with Holodomor. Holodomor is a Ukrainian term for the hunger, man-made hunger from 1930s. The Holodomor was a man-made famine in the Soviet Union from 1932 to 1933 that killed up to 5 million Ukrainians in 1 year. Stalin hated the Ukrainians. Ukraine was a very agriculturally rich land and had very hard-working people compared to the rest of the Soviet Union. You could say that the Baltic states, the Ukrainians and the Polish are the hardest working people in the Soviet Union. Stalin had this order: take all of the food away from Ukraine. They exported everything. I'm not talking about, oh, they exported more grain than they should have. No, they took all of the grain, and the soldiers searched the houses for every bit of bread, everything they could find. They took everything. And up to 5 million Ukrainians starved in 1 year. This was Stalin's plan, and unfortunately he succeeded with it. Now we see Putin and we see what he wants to do. He must not succeed. This is a photo of 2002. President Bush visiting Putin. Wait a minute, who is the waiter? Do you recognize him? To my eyes it looks like Prigozhin, being called Putin's chef. And this is how he started in Putin's kitchen, and now he's like the 4th or 3rd most powerful man in Russia. He has served 13 years in prison. This is what Putin has surrounded himself with. Not the smartest, not the brightest, but most loyal criminals in Russia. There's something going on in Kazakhstan also. There were the riots last year. Russia sent in the forces before Ukraine and pushed down the riots. But now there's another riot going on. Uprising in Kazakhstan by the workers of a company owned by Russia. They're working minimum wage while all of the profit goes to Russia. They attacked the managers, and the Kazakhstanis are fed up with the Russians. And I feel like in the near future Kazakhstan will be leaving the CSTO, the Russian copy of NATO. Russia is losing allies left and right. My friends, thank you for watching. If you like what I do, then the Patreon link is in the description below. Your contribution helps me to continue doing this. In the podcast channel yesterday I uploaded a podcast with Combat Veteran Reacts. Go and check that out. And podcast with Natasha's Adventures is coming out also. Until my next video, Slava Ukraini.